All right, producer surplus. It's basically the same thing as consumer surplus, but on the producer's side. So producer surplus is not an actual surplus of product, but it's a perceived gain for sellers. So they feel like they're making more money than they would have. So it's what they are actually paid for something minus what they are willing to accept. So when we have a nice positive producer surplus, the producer is happy. So let's look at this with Desmos. So we have a supply equation here, which is 15E. And so you can see as the number of units are sold, the price here is increasing. Because with producers, the more it sells for, the more people are going to get involved into actually selling it because they see it as a profitable expense. So you can see here, this right here would be the actual price. So just like before, 50, right? 50 units are being produced. And so our price here is $67.23. So that is what it's actually selling for, $67.23. Well, if we look over here at this person would have sold two, right? Or two people would have sold. Think about it that way if you want. And that was they would have sold it for $15.93. But they were actually paid $67.23. So that is their producer surplus. That's their perceived happiness. The producers are happy because they're getting a lot more than they would have actually taken for it, meaning more people will come to market to sell it because they see a nice profit here. So as we move along and we go to 2, you can see the same thing that, okay, so 3 units, because my rectangle is 1 unit wide. So we have 3 units. So they would have sold it for $16.41, but they were paid $67.25 just like before. And so this just continues through the entire graph, and we get all these producer surpluses. So again, let's put this at a nice number, like 15. So we'd have 15. So we'd have 16 here. All right, I could do 15 on the other one too. So you could see both. Doesn't matter up there because it's just the one. So 15. Price was $23.52. So basically 15 people would have accepted $23.53, or 15 would have been sold, but they were paid $67.25. So you can see these are all of our producer surplus. So it's an idea for the producer. And so we're going to do the same thing we did before, which is add them all up. But if you notice now with producer surplus, our top equation is the blue line for this when we have our positive. So the blue line is the one we need to find. We already know the bottom of our rectangle, again, has a thickness of dx, and we need top minus bottom here. And our top will be the y equals that we get from plugging in 50. So why don't we find that first? So what is P of 50? And we'll use our calculator just like before. And then we already know the bottom is going to be P of x equals 15. E to the 0.03x. Okay, so now let's plug this in our calculator. So we input it in, and we do the same thing before. We'll put our window from 0 to 60 because we have 50 units, just to go a little bit past that, and then zoom fit. And you can see our supply equation is increasing again, because if more units are being sold, that means we're getting more money for it, so more people are entering the market, hopefully. And so there's our y equals, and we go back to our window because, again, we want to see where it is for 0. So there's our graph. So there's our bottom of 0, so we can see our price go up. Now what we need to do is find out when does it equal 50. So trace 50, and we get 67.23. So this would be $67.23. Right? So same as before, P is in dollars, X is in units. And so we have that. So I'm going to put that in just to get that y equals line across there. So it's 67.23. We hit enter. We hit graph. It'll draw that line. So that's my picture. This is from Desmos again, which is another way you could do it. And then we'll go to calculate and make sure that that intersection is correct. And it is. There's our 50. And so you can see our top here is the 67, right? And then our bottom is our 15e to the x. So if you just scroll over anywhere through here, you hit trace, scroll over any part, you can think there's a little rectangle there. The bottom would be our function, and the top is our 67.23. So if we have, again, the integral, I have to zoom in to make it look nicer. a to b of top minus bottom dx. Then what we're getting is the integral, and that's start, start, finish, there we go, of AB. Now the top would be our price minus P of X, which is our supply. So when we're talking about producer surplus, the price goes first because on the top we want to see a positive value here. So we have integral from 0 to b of 67.23 minus P of X dx. It's a 50. All right, and so our P of X here is our our supply equation. You can tell it's a supply because it's increasing. All right, so now we're going to plug that in our calculator and see what it gives us. Second quit. And we're going to go math 9, 0 to 50. All right, and then we just double check everything. 15 e to the 0.03x, and then 6723. Hit enter. So 1,620.66. $1,620.66. So that's our perceived consumer surplus. Now we can also use again the calculator in our graphing function. So if we go second trace, and we're going to go number 7, we're going to select the red because we want that on top, and it's 0. Enter, 50, enter, and then it will shade all the way to here. And then we mark that down. So 3361.5, 3361.5 minus, and then the other one, second calc, and then number 7. But this time we're going to select the blue, which is perfect. So 0, enter. See, the blue is selected up there. And then 50, not 5, 50, enter. And it will shade all the way across and give us that. And so you can see that red area now is our producer surplus, which is 1740.84. 1740.84. Let's double check that. Yep. And then if we subtract those, 3361.5 minus, and it's 1740.84. Let me just zoom that in a bit. There it is, 1620.66. So however you want to do it, but obviously using the integral is going to give you the correct answer. This may be off a little bit, but that's all it is. So producer surplus is going to be P minus the price that we're actually selling it for minus the supply equation, and then consumer surplus will be the reverse. So it'll be the demand equation minus the price. And in the next video, we're going to look at market price.